Dr. Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the massive crystalline structure before him. The alien device stood 12 feet tall, its surface covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and dance in the dim laboratory lighting. For 3 months, he had been part of the joint human-alien research team trying to understand this mysterious piece of technology. The Zephyrians had discovered Earth 5 years ago, and despite initial fears, they came in peace. Their civilization was ancient, spanning thousands of years across multiple star systems. They were master engineers and inventors, capable of creating technologies that seemed like pure magic to human eyes. Yet here they stood, as puzzled as the humans, staring at this enigmatic device. "The quantum resonance patterns are unlike anything we have documented," said Veltar, the lead Zephyrian scientist. His 6-limbed form moved gracefully around the device, his silver skin reflecting the strange glow emanating from the crystal. "This artifact predates our current technological understanding by at least 800 years. Marcus nodded, though his mind was racing in different directions. While the Zephyrians approached the problem with their traditional methodical analysis, he found himself looking at the device from angles his alien colleagues seemed to miss. There was something about the way the patterns moved that reminded him of something familiar, something distinctly human. "Have you tried approaching it as a musical instrument rather than a computational device?" Marcus asked, earning surprised looks from both his human and alien colleagues. Dr. Sarah Williams, his research partner, raised an eyebrow. "Musical instrument? Marcus, this thing generates enough energy to power a small city. The quantum field fluctuations alone could tear apart molecular bonds." "Exactly," Marcus replied, his excitement growing. "But what if those fluctuations follow harmonic principles? What if this isn't meant to be understood through pure logic and mathematics, but through pattern recognition and intuitive resonance?" Veltar's large, multifaceted eyes focused on Marcus with renewed interest. The Zephyrian species had evolved beyond emotional and artistic expression millions of years ago, favoring pure logical thought and scientific advancement. They had long abandoned concepts like music, art, and intuitive creativity as primitive and inefficient. "Elaborate on this theory, Dr. Chen," Veltar said, his voice carrying the characteristic harmonic undertones of his species. "How would musical principles apply to quantum technology?" Marcus walked closer to the device, his hands hovering just inches from its surface. He could feel the energy emanating from it, creating tiny vibrations in the air that seemed to resonate through his bones. In human culture, we have something called synesthesia, where people can see sounds or hear colors. What if this device was created by beings who thought in terms of harmony and rhythm rather than pure mathematics? He pulled out his tablet and began sketching. "Look at these patterns. If I overlay them with musical notation, specifically using the harmonic series that humans have used for thousands of years, there's a correlation. The energy pulses follow the same intervals we use in our most complex symphonies." The room fell silent except for the soft humming of the device. Dr. Williams studied Marcus's sketches, her expression shifting from skepticism to intrigue. "You're suggesting that whoever built this thing understood quantum mechanics through sound and rhythm?" "Not just understood it," Marcus said, his voice filled with growing conviction. "They mastered it. Think about it. Humans have always been pattern seekers. We see faces in clouds, hear music in the wind, find mathematical sequences in flower petals. What if that's not a bug in our evolution, but a feature?" Veltar's assistant, a younger Zephyrian named Kethra, moved closer to examine Marcus's work. "This is highly irregular," Kethra said. "Scientific advancement requires precise mathematical formulation, not artistic interpretation." "But what if artistic interpretation is precisely what's needed here?" Marcus challenged. Your species has achieved incredible technological heights through pure logic, but maybe there are some problems that can only be solved through a different kind of thinking. Over the following days, Marcus immersed himself in studying both the device and human musical theory. He spent hours listening to everything from ancient Gregorian chants to modern jazz, looking for patterns that might correlate with the device's behavior. His colleagues watched with a mixture of fascination and concern as he seemed to develop an almost mystical connection with the alien artifact. Dr. Williams found him one morning asleep at his desk, surrounded by papers covered in musical notations, mathematical equations, and what appeared to be abstract art. "Marcus, you need to get some rest. You've been working nonstop for 4 days." "I'm close, Sarah. I can feel it," Marcus said, his eyes red with exhaustion but bright with excitement. "The device isn't just responding to quantum fields, it's responding to the intention behind them. When the Zephyrians approach it with pure analytical thought, it remains dormant. But when I approach it while thinking about music, about rhythm and harmony, it becomes more active." "That's impossible," Dr. Williams said, though her tone suggested she wasn't entirely convinced of her own words. "Technology doesn't respond to emotions or artistic thoughts. It responds to precise inputs and calculations." "Human technology doesn't," Marcus corrected. "But what if the beings who created this device evolved differently? What if they developed technology that requires both logical understanding and creative intuition to operate?" As if responding to their conversation, the device suddenly pulsed with brighter light. The patterns on its surface began moving faster, creating what could only be described as visual music. Marcus stood up quickly, his heart racing with excitement. "Did you see that? It's responding to our discussion about creativity and intuition. This device isn't just advanced technology, it's artistic technology. It requires the operator to engage with it on multiple levels of consciousness." Veltar entered the laboratory at that moment, having been summoned by the unusual energy readings from the device. "The quantum field strength has increased by 37%, he announced. "What caused this change?" Marcus looked at his alien colleague with a mixture of respect and pity. The Zephyrians were incredible beings, capable of achievements that humans could barely comprehend. But in their pursuit of pure logic and scientific perfection, they had lost something essential. They had forgotten how to dream, how to create, how to see beauty in chaos and find order in apparent randomness. "I think I know how to activate this device," Marcus said quietly. "But it's going to require doing something that might seem completely illogical to your people." "Explain," Veltar said, his interest clearly piqued despite his reservations about human intuitive methods. "I need to play music to it. Not just any music, but music that resonates with the harmonic frequencies I've been tracking. Music that tells a story, that conveys emotion and meaning beyond just mathematical relationships." The laboratory fell silent except for the now rhythmic pulsing of the device. Marcus could see the internal struggle in Veltar's expression. The Zephyrian scientist was being asked to trust in something his entire civilization had rejected as primitive and inefficient. "This approach contradicts everything we understand about technological interfaces," Veltar said slowly. "Yet our traditional methods have yielded no results. Perhaps there is wisdom in exploring alternative approaches." Dr. Williams placed a supportive hand on Marcus's shoulder. "What do you need?" Marcus smiled, feeling more confident than he had in weeks. "A piano. I need a piano, and I need you all to trust that sometimes the most complex problems require the simplest solutions." As the team prepared for Marcus's unconventional attempt to unlock the device's secrets, none of them realized they were about to witness something that would fundamentally change how both species understood the relationship between technology, consciousness, and creativity. The ancient device continued to pulse with increasing intensity, as if it too was anticipating the moment when logical precision would meet human intuition in perfect harmony. The digital piano arrived within 6 hours, a testament to how seriously the Joint Research Facility was taking Marcus's unprecedented approach. As technicians positioned the instrument in front of the towering crystal device, Marcus sat quietly, his fingers running through scales and chord progressions he had learned decades ago in childhood music lessons. "The harmonic resonance readings are already fluctuating," announced Dr. Kim Reyes from the monitoring station. "The device is responding to the piano even before you start playing anything structured." Veltar stood with his team of Zephyrian scientists, their silvery forms rigid with skepticism and fascination. In their thousands of years of technological development, they had never encountered a device that required anything other than precise mathematical inputs. The concept of technology responding to creative expression was so foreign to their culture that they had no framework for understanding it. "Begin the attempt," Veltar said formally, though Marcus could detect something that might have been excitement in the alien's harmonic voice patterns. Marcus placed his hands on the keys and began with something simple. Bach's Prelude in C major filled the laboratory, its mathematical precision and emotional beauty, creating a perfect bridge between human creativity and logical structure. The effect on the device was immediate and spectacular. The crystal patterns began shifting in rhythm with the music, creating visual harmonics that matched the audio frequencies. Energy readings spiked dramatically, but instead of the chaotic fluctuations they had observed before, the power output followed the musical phrasing with elegant precision. "Impossible," whispered Kethra, the young Zephyrian assistant. "The quantum field alignments are synchronizing with the tonal progressions. This contradicts every principle of energy manipulation we understand." Marcus continued playing, transitioning into a piece of his own composition, something that blended classical structure with jazz improvisation. As the music became more complex and emotionally nuanced, the device responded by revealing new layers of its crystal matrix. Sections that had appeared solid began to become transparent, showing intricate internal mechanisms that pulsed and moved like living organs. Dr. Williams monitored the readings with growing amazement. "Marcus, the internal structure is completely reconfiguring itself. It's like the device is opening up, showing us its true nature in response to your music." But Marcus was experiencing something even more extraordinary. As he played, he began to feel a connection with the device that went beyond the physical. Images flashed through his mind, visions of the beings who had created this incredible technology. They were not unlike humans in some ways, but where humans had developed language and logic alongside music and art, these ancient beings had evolved to understand reality itself through harmonic principles. "I can see them," Marcus said softly, his fingers never stopping their dance across the keys. "The creators. They were called the Melodians. They didn't separate science from art, technology from beauty. To them, the universe was a vast symphony, and their technology was simply a way of playing along with cosmic harmonies." The device was now fully active, its crystal matrix spinning slowly while maintaining perfect musical timing. Energy cascaded through its structure in waves that created both light patterns and audible harmonics. The laboratory had become a concert hall, where physics itself was performing. Veltar approached the device cautiously, his scientific instruments recording every fluctuation and resonance. "Dr. Chin, the power output is stabilizing at levels we have never achieved. More importantly, the energy appears to be completely controllable through your musical input. This device has become responsive to human creativity in ways that surpass our most advanced control systems." Marcus nodded, though he was now operating largely on instinct. The connection with the Melodian device had grown so strong that he could feel its responses before he played each note. It was as if the machine was teaching him how to communicate with it through a language that combined sound, emotion, and mathematical precision. The Melodians faced the same choice your people did, Marcus explained while transitioning into a more complex improvisation. They could either pursue pure logic and technological efficiency, or they could maintain their connection to artistic expression and intuitive understanding. Unlike the Zephyrians, they chose to integrate both approaches. "What happened to them?" asked Dr. Williams, her voice filled with curiosity and concern. Marcus closed his eyes, letting the music flow through him while the visions continued. They transcended physical existence, but not in the way you might think. They didn't abandon the material world for pure energy or consciousness. Instead, they became part of the universe's harmonic structure. Their technology became instruments through which reality itself could be composed and conducted. The implications were staggering. Here was proof that technological advancement didn't require the abandonment of creativity and emotional understanding. The Melodians had achieved something that the Zephyrians, for all their logical superiority, had missed entirely. They had created technology that required consciousness, creativity, and intuitive understanding to operate at its full potential. Kethra made a soft sound that, in Zephyrian culture, indicated profound cognitive dissonance. This suggests that our evolutionary path toward pure logic may have been incomplete. We achieved technological mastery, but perhaps we lost access to forms of understanding that could have taken us even further. As Marcus continued playing, the device began projecting holographic displays that showed star maps, technological blueprints, and what appeared to be instruction manuals written in musical notation. The Melodians had encoded their entire technological database in a form that could only be accessed through creative musical interaction. "My God," breathed Dr. Williams, studying the holographic displays. "They're showing us everything. Faster than light travel, matter transformation, energy manipulation beyond anything we've imagined." But all of it requires this hybrid approach of logic and creativity to understand and operate. Veltar was experiencing something unprecedented for his species. As he observed the device's responses to human creativity, he began to feel what could only be described as wonder. It was an emotion his people had evolved beyond millions of years ago, yet here it was, emerging in response to the beauty and complexity of what he was witnessing. "Dr. Chen," Veltar said slowly, "this discovery suggests that the highest forms of technological achievement may require the integration of logical analysis with creative intuition. Our species has pursued one path exclusively, while yours has maintained both capabilities, though at a more primitive level." Marcus smiled as he reached the crescendo of his improvisation. The device was now fully activated, its energy patterns creating a light show that painted the laboratory in colors that had no names. That's what makes humanity special, isn't it? We never had to choose between thinking and feeling, between logic and creativity. We kept both because we needed both. The music reached its natural conclusion, and as the final notes faded, the device settled into a steady, controlled energy output that maintained all of its advanced functions while remaining perfectly responsive to Marcus's continued gentle playing. They had done it. They had solved a technological puzzle that had stymied one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations for over a century. But as Marcus finally lifted his hands from the piano keys, he realized they had accomplished something much more significant than just activating an ancient device. They had proven that the future of technology lay not in choosing between logic and creativity, but in finding ways to integrate both approaches into something greater than either could achieve alone. The laboratory hummed with new energy, both technological and emotional, as two very different species began to understand that their greatest achievements lay not in their individual strengths, but in what they could create together. News of the breakthrough spread through both human and Zephyrian space within days. The activation of the Melodian device represented more than just a technological achievement. It was proof that consciousness, creativity, and intuitive understanding were not primitive evolutionary remnants, but essential components of advanced technological development. Marcus found himself at the center of attention from researchers, diplomats, and philosophers from dozens of worlds. The humble human musician-turned-scientist had accomplished what teams of the galaxy's brightest minds had failed to achieve. But he was more interested in what they could learn from the device now that it was fully operational. The holographic archives contain technological blueprints for over 3,000 different devices, Dr. Williams reported during the daily briefing. Each one requires a similar approach, combining precise mathematical understanding with creative intuitive engagement. The Melodians apparently built their entire civilization around this hybrid methodology. Veltar had undergone a remarkable transformation since witnessing the device activation. The Zephyrian scientist had begun studying human artistic expressions, trying to understand the creative processes that his own species had abandoned. "I have been reviewing your human musical compositions, Dr. Chen. There are patterns within patterns, mathematical relationships that exist alongside emotional expressions. It is beautiful." The word beautiful, coming from a Zephyrian, was unprecedented. Their language had no direct translation for aesthetic appreciation, yet Veltar was developing new concepts to describe experiences his species had never valued. "That's just the beginning," Marcus said, his excitement infectious. "The device has shown me glimpses of Melodian cities where buildings were grown rather than constructed, where transportation systems operated through harmonic resonance, where art and science were literally the same thing. They created a civilization where creativity was the fundamental force behind all technological advancement." Dr. Sarah Kim, the new project coordinator, reviewed the data streams flowing from the device. "The implications for both our species are enormous. Humans could advance our technology by centuries by learning to integrate more precise logical frameworks with our natural creativity. Zephyrians could unlock entirely new technological paradigms by reconnecting with their abandoned capacity for intuitive understanding." But the most significant development came when Kethra, the young Zephyrian assistant, approached Marcus with an unusual request. "Dr. Chen, I have been studying your musical techniques. I believe I am beginning to understand the principles involved. May I attempt to interact with the device using my own interpretation of creative expression?" This was revolutionary. No Zephyrian had engaged in creative activity for millions of years. Their entire evolutionary development had been focused on eliminating what they considered inefficient emotional and artistic responses in favor of pure, logical thinking. "Of course," Marcus replied, stepping away from the piano. "But remember, it's not about technique or getting it right. It's about expressing something genuine, something that comes from your own unique perspective and experience." Kethra positioned themselves at the piano with characteristic Zephyrian precision. Their 6 limbs allowed for complex finger positioning impossible for humans. But when they began to play, something extraordinary happened. The music that emerged was unlike anything ever heard before, a fusion of mathematical perfection and emerging emotional awareness that created entirely new harmonic structures. The device responded immediately, but its reaction was different from anything they had observed before. Instead of simply activating, it began to evolve. The crystal matrix started growing, creating new formations that combined human and Zephyrian technological approaches with Melodian design principles. "The quantum field resonance is off the charts," announced Dr. Williams, her voice filled with awe. "It's not just responding to Kethra's music. It's using the interaction to create something entirely new." Marcus watched with tears in his eyes as Kethra continued playing. The young Zephyrian was experiencing emotions for the first time in their species' recent evolutionary history. Wonder, joy, and creative satisfaction flowed through their music, and the device was using these emotions as a blueprint for technological innovation. "I understand now," Kethra said softly, their harmonic voice patterns creating new sounds that had never existed in Zephyrian language. "We thought we evolved beyond creativity because it was inefficient, but we did not evolve beyond it. We simply forgot how to access it. It was always there, waiting for the right moment to emerge." The device's new configuration revealed its true purpose. It wasn't just a piece of abandoned Melodian technology. It was a teaching tool, designed to help other species discover the integration of logic and creativity that the Melodians had mastered. They had left it behind as a gift for those who would come after them, a way to guide emerging civilizations toward balanced technological development. Veltar approached the evolved device with something approaching reverence. This suggests that the Melodians foresaw the paths that different species might take. They knew that some, like us, would pursue pure logic, while others, like humans, would maintain creative capabilities. The device was designed to teach both approaches to learn from each other. Over the following weeks, the laboratory became a center for unprecedented cooperation between human and Zephyrian researchers. Humans learned to apply mathematical precision to their creative intuitions, while Zephyrians rediscovered the capacity for wonder and artistic expression that they had buried beneath millions of years of logical evolution. The breakthrough led to the development of entirely new technological paradigms, human-Zephyrian hybrid devices that required both logical programming and creative interaction. Starships that could navigate not just through space, but through the harmonic structures of reality itself. Communication systems that could convey not just information, but emotion and artistic meaning across interstellar distances. Marcus often stood before the device in the quiet evening hours, playing gentle melodies that helped stabilize its energy patterns. He thought about the Melodians, the ancient species that had achieved the perfect balance between heart and mind, between logic and creativity. They had transcended physical existence not by abandoning the material world, but by learning to conduct reality itself like a vast cosmic symphony. "They're still here, aren't they?" Dr. Williams asked one evening as she found Marcus at the piano. "The Melodians. They became part of the universe's harmonic structure." Marcus nodded, his fingers finding a gentle melody that seemed to make the stars themselves sing in response. "They didn't disappear. They just learned to exist at a different level of reality, and they left us a roadmap for how to join them if we're wise enough to follow it." The device pulsed gently in rhythm with Marcus's playing, its energy patterns now perfectly stable and controlled. It had become more than just ancient technology. It was a bridge between different approaches to understanding reality, proof that the universe itself was creative, logical, beautiful, and precise all at once. As news of the discovery spread throughout human and Zephyrian space, it sparked a renaissance of hybrid thinking that would transform both civilizations. Scientists learned to approach problems with artistic sensibility. Artists learned to express their creativity through technological innovation. The boundaries between disciplines dissolved, replaced by integrated approaches that honored both logical rigor and creative intuition. The Melodian device had taught them the most important lesson of all, that consciousness, creativity, and logical understanding were not competing approaches to reality, but complementary aspects of a single, unified way of being. The future belonged not to those who chose between thinking and feeling, but to those who learned to do both with equal skill and wisdom. And in the depths of space, where the Melodians had become one with the cosmic harmonies they had spent eons learning to conduct, a new note was added to the universal symphony. It was the sound of two species learning to make beautiful music together, creating something greater than either could achieve alone.